Welcome back to another conversation between Kate, Sally and Michael about leadership and organizations. Last week, we were saying that we as coaches absolutely love working with our clients and trying to get them to explore their energy and the way they spend their time. And this threw up a really interesting question as to why people aren't doing it. If we have all this knowledge about how important self-care is, then why don't we do it? So I'm going to go straight over to Kate as a leading business psychologist. What's your take on why people don't look after themselves and manage their energy and time?
That's such a big question, Michael. But we all know people that are running on empty. So, throughout my career as a coach, I've known people that will insist on not stopping and not looking after their energy, looking after themselves. And there's so many reasons for that. So part of it is our physiology and our neurology. So we can become quite addicted to cortisol because it can be our friend. It wakes us up in the morning, gets us going, and keeps us firing on all engines. But sometimes that becomes too much. And then we get disrupted sleep, our cognitive functioning isn't so good. And so all of those aspects which we could go into in further videos. But then there's loads of other stuff about our habits and routines, about what's expected of us in our work and at home. So we might be the breadwinner worried about losing our job, or our identity might be completely tied up with work. We may not have a very good balance of other hobbies and relationships, looking after just the whole, if you think about the work-life balance wheel, which we would use with some clients, some people are really focused on just their professional life. So there's just so many things that will push us into behaving in a certain way, and scripts that we've grown up with about I must be strong, I must be perfect, I must please people. So there's many psychological and physiological reasons for why people.
And I guess it's important for us as coaches not to prescribe too quickly, that we get to understand the person, work out what's going on for them before we start to think about interventions or coaching approaches. From your perspective, Sally, does this resonate with some of the things that Kate is saying about, there is an addiction to cortisol, but actually there's other stuff playing in?
Absolutely. And I think picking up on the point about cortisol, we've also got dopamine and adrenaline. And I'm thinking particularly about the last 6 months where most leaders have been operating in crisis mode. They will also have become addicted to that dopamine and adrenaline. But I think alongside that, what Kate was also talking about are the scripts that people run in their heads. That if they slow down or take Saturday off or don't send emails on a Sunday, there might be a fear of being judged. Or just at its core, there may just be a sense that they may feel selfish, just selfish for pausing and stopping. So as Kate was saying, there are so many different reasons why people don't stop to rest and recuperate. And it's really important as coaches that we listen to people and understand what is driving that behavior at the moment before we can help people move forward with potential solutions to help them.
Yes, because the balanced wheel, sorry, I was forgetting what Kate said, the wheel of life as such is one aspect of it, but it could be some really ingrained scripts that have come from influential people in life, your parents or guardians or teachers that have told you to be perfect or be on time or be correct all the time, that lead to this over-reliance on work for a sense of identity, a sense of purpose. So Kate, what do you recommend we do now in terms of saying to people, what should be the next step? If we said something on the video this morning that resonates, what's the next step for somebody?
Well, I think one of the most difficult things about this is often people don't want to face up to it and don't want to self-refer, if you like, and ask for help around this. So, for leaders who might be feeling themselves that they're in danger of burnout, I suppose working with someone like an executive coach can be really important to support you in changing some of the behavior that might not be helping you in the longer term. Because, under these circumstances, we are in a context of turmoil, really, aren't we, at the moment in the world? And I think people are getting on with it, as we've mentioned before, and working as hard as they can to get through it. So there is that support that's needed. But I also think if you're seeing people in your team or around you, it's about giving them that feedback. So as coaches, we give feedback, don't we, and help people, as we say, hold the mirror up so that they can see what might be happening to them or how their behavior is impacting. So I think that the first thing is to pay attention. What is actually happening and how are you operating at the moment? And then we can start to design ways of helping people to make some adjustments.
So it's about recognizing some behavior patterns. It's about accepting that, hey, gosh, I am working 7 days a week, or I'm working extraordinarily long hours, or I'm not sleeping properly, or I'm slightly more irritable, and use that as a trigger for some self-reflection. And I suppose I'd counsel as well for people to have those vital friends around them who give that sense of perspective, who help with the mirror, and get you to see the balance in your life. What's your next step, Sally? What would you advise?
What I would encourage leaders to do, we often talk to leaders about the importance of being curious and asking questions. And I think this is the time for leaders to be curious about their own behaviors. You know, just taking the time to slow down and pause on a weekend and think about, is the way I'm working helpful? Is it actually helpful for me long term in terms of my energy and sustaining the energy that I need to now going into the winter? Is it sustainable as a role model for the people around me? And it's really important to say to leaders, you don't have to have the solution. Just being curious about whether or not the habits that you've developed are helpful is a great start. If there isn't anybody that you can reach out to and be vulnerable with, then that's where an executive coach can really be great, because obviously we can hold people in that space in a highly confidential way and support them while they work on the answers to that question. So I think it's really important that leaders think about whether or not having a coach can support them. And the final thing that I would say, we're going into the winter. From an immunity perspective, people need to be in a peak physical and mental condition to be able to support their organisations through this time. You won't do that if you haven't taken a break over the last 6 months.
And some of those breaks haven't been massive cognitive breaks, haven't they? They've been, working, having a break from home, having a break at home, having lots of small little trips away, rather than that big periods of time where you get away and the brain switches into a different mode. I'm going to pause on that stage, and hopefully that helps folks. If we've said something that resonates with you, by all means get in touch with us. If you want to comment, please do onto the either LinkedIn, Facebook, or directly onto YouTube. Have a great week, and we'll pick up again next week. Thank you very much.